Hey everyone, I'm Zanbig, this is Auto Group, and this is the 2021 Lexus ES250 all-wheel drive. And this is not like an all-wheel drive E from like the Prius or like the new RAV4 hybrid. This is an actual driven axle in the rear, so it has real all-wheel drive for the first time since the ES began. It never ever had all-wheel drive. This is the first ever all-wheel drive ES. At first, Toyota started with putting this all-wheel drive system in the new Camry, and now we got it for the 2021 model year in the ES. So this thing actually doesn't have the V6 yet. Maybe they will have it soon, I'm not sure. But for starters, they did make this a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. And I originally thought that this was actually going to be a hybrid with the E all-wheel drive system, but this is not actually that. This is a 203 horsepower 4-cylinder. Which is very interesting because Lexus never really does these types of 4-cylinders unless they're turbocharged, or they have like a hybrid component to them. So what's interesting about the 350 V6 that you can get for about the same price as this base model, like $39,000 to start, is that since the V6 comes with a front wheel drive, it has the 8-speed just like this car, which is really interesting to me. So you can get the V6 front wheel drive car, or you can get the 4-cylinder all-wheel drive car for about the same price. But we know, as they are spec'd mostly, especially here at McGrath Lexus of Westmont, special thanks to Artful for providing the vehicle, you normally get the V6 ones spec'd at about 48,000, or even the 55,000 almost ones with the Mark Levinson and everything premium. So for a person of my height at about 6 foot 3 inches, this car, the get-in, sort of the feel that you get when you hop in, it is very easy, obviously, because it is a Lexus. Why would they not prefer your comfort of getting in? Because they are a luxury company. So getting in the seat and setting it, it is very nice and easy. You also got lumbar support, and it comes out pretty quickly. Yeah, it's pretty good. So then I love this wood trim. That's the first thing I really noticed when I got in this car, is the wood trim looks great, especially when it's all brand new. Like, this car only has 8 miles, so you should definitely go check it out. And in the center, this display looks a little bit more updated than the 2016 one, but you could also get your Amazon Alexa in here and Apple CarPlay, and you got your normal setup, phone, audio, and then Lexus's own app suite, which is where it has a few different apps that I guess not many people use. Most people just plug in their phone, especially for their navigation and stuff. Then over here, we got a few. Let me just start it up. There you could kind of hear the 4-cylinder startup. In comparison to the V6, it is a little bit louder, but and the exhaust makes some noise as well, a little bit more of that verbal in the back of the 4-cylinder. But what's interesting about it is that since Lexus has great sound deadening, you can't really tell too much of like intrusion of the sound. It's just a little bit different than what you're normally used to. I feel like Lexus customers that are buying this car probably won't really mind, because this isn't this is more like a kind of a mid-spec but a lower spec one, especially if you're living in an area with a lot of snow. Although the front wheel drive also does really good in the snow. So for your driving modes, you got the normal one, you got Eco down below right there, and then you got Sport. So basically this actually just changes up the steering weight, the sensitivity of the throttle, and the gear shifting, which is more interesting than my car, because that was the 6-speed automatic, which is a really smooth transmission, probably a little bit smoother than this in shifting, but obviously you can't get the better acceleration that you could get in the 8-speed and the better fuel economy. Then you also got your traction control off button over here on the other side, and beautiful faux leather stitching over here, which is really nice. You got the normal sunroof, not the panoramic, which is not too big of a deal. In the back, let me also pull down this armrest where you got the signature ES cup holders. You already know it's been the same for a while, and you got the little pass-through in the back as well. So let's just go ahead and go on the drive. This is very similar in all its features, basically, to the V6 ES. And now you got your wireless charging capability, which is great. Heated steering wheel has 2 levels actually, which is nice. Okay, so let me just set my mirrors. It's really easy. The controls are so simple, and the materials, I mean, look at this. Push button start is such a beautiful button, much better than the previous generation. Then the backup camera is pretty simple. You have a few different settings you could change on it. You can make it a little bit wider, which is cool. You could also change the lines for this as well and put it to no lines almost. But what's interesting is that, you know, it has the bottom connected pedal. So this is not what a lot of previous ES owners are used to, but I still think it's nice and smooth. And this is, we are in normal, right? So what you get in normal mode obviously is a pretty standard, you know, you got your classic ES type feel. What's cool about it is that I think the steering weight is super nice and light, but this does have a power on rack electromechanical rack and pinion system, which makes it a bit, it gives you a bit more feel in the steering when you're turning around here and there, which is good. It gives you a little bit more vibrations as well, and I'm getting some nice vibration through the pedal box, which I really love. I really don't like when cars are super numb, even when they're luxurious. I mean, they still should have some nice feel. Anyways, the brake pedal response is very nice and smooth, and it's interesting. I really like what they did with the throttle response. It's very smooth on throttle. As soon as you get rolling from a stop, it doesn't have like a snap feel, and my ES does that. And sometimes I really don't like when it does that, especially in the rain. It can make it a little bit more skittish at the front. Speaking of the rain, it just rained over here. Now it's not, it's a bit more dry, but that just goes to show, you know, this all-wheel drive ES is now more practical than the front-wheel drive ES because of this extra benefit in the drivetrain. See, it is so soft from a standing still, but when you're interesting. So the shift points are pretty high, even in normal mode. I'm noticing that was shifting at about 4,000, almost 5,000 RPM, which the V6 basically never reaches on a daily basis. The 9-3 grip is decent as well. I think it could be a little bit more grippy. Maybe the leather, since it's super smooth, that's the case. But what I'm noticing about this 8-speed is that when you're on the road and you let off the gas, obviously the car is rolling forward like these Lexuses usually do, but you guys maybe feel that in the camera shake. As soon as I hit the gas, watch this, it immediately just does this kind of roughish type downshift, which I get that it makes it a little bit more beneficial for your throttle response, but it's just not as smooth as most Lexus owners would want it. But overall, I don't think that's too big of an issue. Also, the handling of this thing is just so much smoother than the last generation ES, from our generation ES, and the brake pedal is nice and firm. I really love firm brake pedals, as long as they have the proper response and they're not super, you know, low on brake pressure. Wow, it is so smooth from a rolling stop. It does make quite a bit of noise though. See, look at the brake pressure. It's so smooth, and you could really give the gas, give the brake pedal some nice force, and then it'll stop smoothly. So what I'm noticing is that it does have slightly, you could feel the lower torque in certain gears, in the lower gears, and pulling away, you know, when you're turning, and then when you're rolling, you do kind of miss a little bit of the torque at lower speeds, maybe like 15-20 miles per hour. But that's in this normal mode. Now if we pop it down into Eco, the shifts should be a lot quicker, you know, for your fuel economy, and the pedal should get a little bit more numb. And yep, oh yeah, dude, it's definitely, now when you put your foot into the gas, it takes a while for it to actually respond, which is very nice for when you're cruising on, you know, long range drives. And one of the benefits of this new ES in the interior is that since you have a lot of space, you get to like appreciate how, you know, comfortably you could sit back and relax. It's been a while since I've been in a brand new ES, driving it for a little while, but it's very nice and smooth, and the road noise is so minimalistic, and the tire noise is so low. Look at the brake pressure. I love that. Now we're in sport, and this handles quite similarly to the V6 ES, but the F Sport really just changes the game. You know, like I was so surprised that the ES350 F Sport V6, you know, the response of that engine and the suspension with the adaptive variable just makes it a perfect replacement for the GS, as long as they make it you know, with the all-wheel drive in that car. This thing is definitely fully tuned towards your practicality and luxurious Lexusness, even with the smaller engine, which is to me very interesting. But I do feel that kick of the transmission. Maybe since it is the first year, you know, they'll still do some tuning hopefully very soon and make it a bit smoother. I just love this brake pressure. It's just fantastic. Wow, it really shifted quite high over there. It was like 6,000 RPM. But you know what? Most people who are driving this like we are driving it is very rare for a car like this. I mean, this is definitely meant to be a normal cruiser, you know, and the shift points are, yeah, they're definitely really high. I think in sport, normal, if we kick it into normal, it should be better. Man, the steering weight is so perfect. It's, you know what's funny to me is that the way the steering is tuned and stuff, to me it's better. The last car we drove was the 2021 Toyota Supra, and the weight of it and the feel and the way it goes straight is much better than that car. Although, I mean, that car is a sports car, definitely. It has a bunch of other things that are awesome, but now I can tell there's a bit of wind noise at this type of speed, like 65 miles per hour. But the stability is incredible. Like, no, I don't think any other ES before this, unless you really go back to like the early 2000s ES, the ones that were more firm and less, you know, of this luxurious era of cars, the modern one. This thing just handles like no other ES from before, you know. And we've driven quite a lot of the ESs, you know. We had a couple of the early 2000 ones, like the 2000, the 2001, the 2009, you know, and the 2016 one. And this is just on a whole nother level in terms of its response and handling dynamics. The indicator sound is so muted. I love that. It's better than the previous generation. Yeah, so definitely if you want the proper the punchy torque and stuff, you should definitely go with the V6 model, but this thing will get the job done for the average commuter who wants a beautiful luxurious car. Now definitely let me know what you think about the interior in comparison to the previous generation, because I mean, this one has its positives and a little bit of negatives in my opinion. I wish this layout was a bit more smoother. Maybe they could add this stitching to this piece over here. That would make it better, but the thing is very smooth in its driving for the most part. And then, you know, you got your super stiff gear selector. This thing looks so good. I mean, it has such a good feel. You could even put auto for your heated steering wheel. Isn't that crazy? Oh, it's kind of shifting by itself. Interesting. Yeah, okay, the response isn't as instantaneous as the V6 model, but you know, it'll get the job done. Like I said, to me it's not a big issue for a car like this. Maybe if this was like a GS, then or like an F Sport model, then these would be proper complaints for the transmission. But since it is the smoother, you know, the wood trimmed one, it's not a problem. For the split of the all-wheel drive system, I believe for the GS, what they normally do is they make it 70-30, so 70 rear, 30 front. I think this car is about probably 60-40. That's what a lot of commuter cars, they do for their all-wheel drive systems. You know, if they're not trying to be sporty, they'll mostly keep it towards the front, you know. And the good thing, if you're comparing this to the V6 one, the front-wheel drive one, the other thing that's beneficial about the front wheel drive one is the fact that it doesn't have, basically it has no torque steer. Like, it is so limited, which is great. The tire noise is so like minimalistic. I mean, I'm not even sure you really need the hollow wheels, you know, the quiet ones. This is very nice. Wow. Very interesting suspension tuning. It is, I believe this is front gas pressurized. It might even be gas pressurized at the rear, but normally I think they do the front, you know, the MacPherson struts with the gas pressurized shock absorbers. It makes the car very nice and tied down. You know, it doesn't float up in this up and down like vertical movement. But you know, in corners you still got a little bit of that normal soft suspension roll. It's not going to be like the adaptive variable suspension in that regard, and that's totally acceptable for the non-F Sport car. So overall, the time with the 2021 ES250 all-wheel drive has been actually really good in terms of a luxury car. This thing has everything checked in terms of its boxes. It has your dynamic radar cruise control, it has lane keep assist, it has pre-collision system, you know, all those beautiful features, and then your LED daytime running lights look fantastic as well. The looks of this car are super nice, and the comfort as well, and the seats are pretty good as well. I really prefer the F Sport seats. They have a bit more comfortable headrests because they are the bucket seats, but this is still very good, especially for like an entry-level trim in the ES. And now you can make that choice between the front-wheel drive V6 and the all-wheel drive 250. It's really good in that regard. But you know, overall with this new 8-speed combined with the 4-cylinder, that combination is brand new, so they maybe should just update it and make it a little bit more smoother in the response with the 8-speed, or else it's absolutely fantastic. Special thanks once again to Artcool and McGrath Lexus of Westmont for providing this vehicle for review. And you know, during the pandemic, this is our second review, so it's been very interesting. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully we'll keep uploading videos very soon. I know it's been a while since that last 2021 Super video, so that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe for new videos very soon, hopefully, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So okay, when you start it up, the little video that starts up is so nice. It'll come up in a second. Boom, right there. It looks more updated, I think, for the 2021. Look at that. That's super cool. And then it just immediately changes into your gauge cluster. Let me show you one interesting feature about the gauge cluster. If you scroll over to the settings and you go down and you go into meter settings, you can actually change this to analog, and it'll actually have your speedometer and then the little rev counter in the center, which is cool. You know, it's just a nice little cool thing that they added if you want that for the more classic Lexus owners. But I prefer this because it has a digital speedo. And that's pretty much it. Oh, you also got, you know, your brake hold, which is really good, and now it's becoming pretty much a standard in a lot of these cars, so that's great.